Go!
Bonjour groupe, nous sommes jeudi 4 heures, 2 heures après la fin du salon du NAB Show. On est tous un peu fatigués, mais on tenait absolument à faire une démonstration d'Adobe CS6. Alors, pendant le NAB, on a appelé Colin Smith qui était venu nous présenter CS5.5 l'année dernière et il était assez généreux pour nous accueillir dans sa suite 2 heures après la fin du show pour nous montrer les nouveautés d'Adobe en personne. Alors, on va passer à travers les nouveaux logiciels et les nouveaux features de ces logiciels-là. So, Colin, 2 hours after the official end of the NAB show, so you're generous enough to welcome us in your room at the encore. So it's been like a good year and a big year for you, wasn't it?
This was the biggest NAB Adobe has ever seen, and we've had some great releases when we originally rewrote Premiere Pro, but now with CS6, adding new products like Prelude and Speedgrade, our booth was overflowing, as you saw, the whole show. It was fantastic.
So you got 2 new softwares in this suite, and both Premiere and After Effects got major improvements. So, well, let's talk first about Prelude. What is it, Prelude? Well, since it's the first software maybe we'll have to play with the new suite.
Exactly. So we were actually contacted by the BBC and CNN, and they wanted a tapeless ingest application. They didn't want to teach someone how to use Premiere Pro just to ingest, because there's a lot of extra things that they don't need. They also wanted a tool to add metadata very easy and very clearly. So Prelude looks a little bit like Premiere Pro, but very scaled down with just a few operations. Ingest, and also backup and transcode if you want. So you could be bringing in red, transcoding to ProRes LT, DNX HD, and put it in 2 locations, and add metadata, create rough cuts, and then you can send the whole thing easily, not only back to Premiere Pro, but you can actually send it as Final Cut XML too.
And last year, when you came to Montreal, you showed us On Location. So, is there a part of On Location that is now in Prelude? It's a brand new app.
Yeah, none of On Location was in there because On Location was really meant as monitoring FireWire, right? And Prelude is all about tapeless format, so there is no connection or monitoring from tape at this point.
And then once we have our footage in Prelude and we send it to Premiere, you got tons of new stuff, very nice features now in Premiere.
Yeah, what's really important, and I think Final Cut users should be really proud because they helped us make CS6. And what I mean by that is at Adobe, we actually bring in the top editors in the US that are Final Cut and Avid users who don't know anything about Premiere Pro. And we actually watch them work, we give them tasks, and they tell us what they like, they tell us what they don't like, and they told us loud and clear some things they didn't like. So the interface that you see in CS6 was built not only by Adobe folks, but by Final Cut and Avid users to make it beautiful, responsive, and get it out of the way. I mean, you want to work with your media. You don't have to fight with an interface.
So just how many engineers do you have to work on these products to get like year after year these amazing new features?
Well, I don't even know how many to count because they're all over the world, simply put. And for instance, there's one group of engineers that just deal with Media Core is what it's called. Media Core is the video playback part of things. So if you look at something like Lightroom, Lightroom users had this very small, nimble application, but they wanted to edit video. So we stuck Media Core in Lightroom. Lightroom's not small anymore. If you want those video features and to be able to play back all those formats, you need Media Core. Media Core is in Premiere Pro, it's in Prelude, it's in After Effects, it's across the board. That's only one group. Then we have a whole group that's just user interface for Premiere Pro on its own. And then we have a ton of engineers in India. We have engineers in other places in Europe, in Seattle. So it's, I don't know, it's hundreds of engineers.
So can we have a quick look at the feature, the highlights of what you've done with Premiere Pro this year?
Absolutely. So the first thing you'll notice when you look at Premiere Pro is the fact that the interface is very clean and it gets out of the way. We wanted to make sure that users didn't have things like, we used to have on one window 23 separate controls just in one window. So we can turn things off. For instance, we have these transport buttons that you can very easily shut off. It seems like a little thing to some people, but to a user who says, give me more video screen, give me less controls. I'm a keyboard editor. I don't need those controls.
And I know a lot of Avid editors like to remove all the buttons from the viewers and stuff. So.
Excellent. Yeah, and for the ones that love them, you can customize them now. So if you want just a row of 2 or just 3 of these controls, and you can reset the layout at any time. So very customizable. The rulers don't show up with the numbers in them. So there was just so many things. Every time you give something lit up everywhere, it fatigues the eye. So we clean that up completely. Also, you'll notice that there's less gray area. So if we start playing this back in the timeline and you look at our bars, you can see, oh my goodness, that's wonderful. Remember the meters used to be halfway and the rest was gray. It's like, and now they're fully scalable. Wherever you bring them, they're fine. You'll also notice that, and this is, I think, probably my favorite feature is, of course, we can look at our assets in a list view, and we can sort and we can find metadata, but now we've got gigantic thumbnails.
Okay. So it's like hundreds of mini viewers. Exactly. Right there.
Yeah, because I can now scroll over these. So I'm not clicking with the mouse. We call this hover scrub. So I'm hovering my mouse over top of it. And I can easily do that with all of the clips here. And if I want to, I could actually click inside here. So let me just go to one that we can see a big difference. If I click inside here, you can see a tiny little timeline with an in and out point. So once you've clicked in, JKL keys, I and O, it's completely ready for you to hit those points inside there. We also have little labels down here at the bottom, so you can see if it's been used before. You can just instantly see the ones that are orange. The audio was not used in there, but the video was used. Both audio and video, just video. Really, really easy to see that. So that's the user interface part. That's an update, but it's also in the media browser. So if people haven't been using the media browser, they've been missing a huge part of that. So if I go to that same drive here in the media browser and open up my source, this is not yet in my program. This isn't in a bin. This is just looking at it. So imagine having a card. You have an XD-Cam card, P2 card. You just literally plug it in. You're now looking at the media on the card. And we're smart enough to recognize the structure, because we know a P2 card is a contents folder, a video folder, and a clip folder. You just point to the card, and it just shows you your assets.
So no need for XD-Cam transfer and stuff like that?
No, not at all. We just get it, and in it goes, and you're editing that footage. And now you can just right-click inside here and open that in the source monitor and import that really easy. So I could select all if I wanted, or just 2 or 3 clips. So it's just so much easier to work with this. You're going to love Hover Scrub. It's kind of funny that we were saying that you don't need. Apple saying you don't need this monitor, and now we're saying, well, you know what? Maybe we need lots of them, but we don't necessarily need people to be jumping over here to this monitor. I mean, we can. We still need it for matching left and right and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. Trimming is definitely the next big one. Trimming was something that we took very, very serious. And part of this editor du jour thing where we brought them down and we watched them, we realized, especially Avid users, I mean, Final Cut has had some great trimming tools, but Avid was king, right? Avid had dynamic trimming, asymmetrical trimming, and all of these things that were just like way out there. So finally, we can click inside, and if you want, I'll just zoom in to show you. We can now finally click inside and grab an edit point. right? Something everyone else can do. We couldn't do that. So in grabbing that edit point, we can just grab the arrow keys. So that's Option left and right arrows, Shift Option left and right to jump through that. And if I had a numeric keypad and a full keyboard, plus and minus and a number, and we're jumping through. We all know those things. Great, finally, whew, yay, we get to have that. But we can actually keep doing this. So I can have multiple points selected vertically, horizontally, and they can be different types, right? So I can have one that's a trim in and a trim out, or a ripple out, trim out. I can do one top, one bottom, going that way and sideways. And that's just in the timeline. If I double click on this, it actually loads it into the trim monitor. This is a new trim window. Okay. It's not this one that's hiding down here, the trim monitor. We kept that one. That's the legacy one. This one's new. When I have that trim selected, it's going to play around that area for me, so I can be hitting +1, -1, and various other shortcuts to jump around in there. Now, one that Final Cut users use a lot is the E key to extend to playhead, right? So that's a very useful one where wherever I am here, I hit the E key and extends to the playhead. Great. But Avid actually had 2 keyboard shortcuts, in and out, on top of that. So I could extend to the next edit point or the previous edit point. So right now we don't have keyboard shortcuts set up for that, but all I have to do is come in here to trim, and you'll notice it says ripple, trim, next edit, playhead. I set up R because it's beside E. And ripple, trim, previous, it's W, it's right beside E. You see where I'm going with this, right? Yes, right. So now when I'm down in here, if I hit the W key, it's the previous edit, the next edit, wherever I am. As long as I've got material there, W. And you see I didn't have to have anything selected because it's next edit to playhead. And this works while it's going.
Yes, that's what we saw, and it's like pretty impressive. So.
And the other thing that I would suggest that Final Cut, well, actually everybody do, is turn off this damn work area bar. Right? We've had this work area bar forever, right? If I just zoom out here and we look at that, we're all the way out here. This thing, it's been around for years, and it was useful when you just wanted to output a small segment. It's useful in After Effects more than Premiere Pro. And if you're trying to loop and playback, I find that it actually gets in the way. So for the first time now, I'm happy to say we can turn that work area bar off and recover that room. So everything I'm showing you right now, I'm going to hit an in and out on the timeline, turn on loop. All of those same keyboard shorts that I'm talking about are dynamic. I can loop over any point in the timeline and be using those same keyboard shortcuts. Trim, edit, in, out, and if I hit the Control-T key, you can see that I can zoom in, and I'm actually switching live between Control-T, there we go, all those different edits. Ripple, trim out, in, trim out, rolling edit. All while it's going at the same time. We also added this play around, which is Shift K. Play around, if I don't have a loop in there and I just hit Shift K, it'll loop around that point anywhere on the timeline. Okay. So we now have, we're being told, we now have the best trimming tools in the business.
Yeah, looks like you do. So major changes in Premiere. Wow, this is nice. And but you also did a lot of things too in After Effects.
Yes, we did.
So you rewrote some part of it, and you have some great new features actually.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've done. No one has ever accused After Effects of being too fast, right?
No.
Everybody knows that it takes a lot to calculate After Effects to get things going. And we wanted to make good use of caching, of saving, because what After Effects users do all the time is they try things, right? You do this and you try that and then you undo that and you end up going back to the same thing you had before. It's like you turn this one off, turn that one on. And we're all used to doing a RAM preview, where you do something, you preview RAM, you look at it, you make one change and all your RAM is gone, right?
Yes, you lose it.
Lose everything. So not anymore. Let me just load my demo files. And we have something called the Global Performance Cache, which simply means that in the past, After Effects would flush out all of the information in the cache, and now remains for any layers that haven't changed. So if we haven't touched something, then it won't go away. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to turn something on for you that I suggest you don't turn on all the time. This is a diagnostic tool, and there is a performance hit for it. So I'm just doing it to show this cache. So I'm holding down the command key and clicking on Show Cache Indicators. It separates my my timeline into these different areas. Okay, you can turn this on just to see it, but there is a performance hit to do that. It's showing me what is in disk and what is in RAM right now. Okay. The green is in RAM, blue is in disk. And right now I haven't rendered this at all. And if I just play this back, remember this is a 2-generation old MacBook Pro Core 2 Duo, I think I get about 1 frame a second as it's trying to render this. But this is what we all do, right? We preview to RAM, we look at this, and I'm going to actually make this a little bit smaller just so we don't have to wait. But now After Effects is writing the information for every layer separate. Okay. So if I change the top layer, it keeps all the information down to the bottom, and we'll only have to re-render the one layer. So if we've got enough juice here.
Is this taking more RAM than it used to?
No, it's just doing smart disk caching. Okay. Okay, it's just saving that information. So we're like less than a frame per second on here. They gave us really heavy demo files here that we normally play back on like a desktop system. Okay, so if this, so there's some disk and there's some RAM. Let's make it even smaller then. So you still initially have to render out at least once, right, on this project. But it's actually stored on disk, so tomorrow when I open this, I will have all the same information. So wait till it gets around here. Wow, I don't even have enough memory for that. Bottom line is, if I go over here and turn this effect off, you can see it only flushes out the top one, so it's going to take less time for me to re-render that.
Render the top layer.
Yeah. Even if I go back and turn that back on and off, eventually on a regular production system, not this MacBook Pro, you would be able to turn that effect off, real time, on, real time, off, real time, on. It would, and depending on how much disk space you've got, you'd be doing that for a lot of projects. So there's a setting in the prefs where you point to a disk, just go out and get a fast SSD, or internal or external, make sure it's connected to a fat pipe, and boom, you're off to the races. Okay. But the one that's more fun is this one. So we added Warp Stabilizer in CS5.5, and what Warp Stabilizer is actually doing is it's calculating a 3-dimensional point cloud in a 2-dimensional video. So we could have taken camera data in 5.5 out of here. We didn't. So now in CS6 we're using that point cloud, and we're going to calculate a 3D camera. So in my effects, I'll just type 3D camera, drag that on. It's going to start to calculate the movement of this 2-dimensional clip. So it's watching the parallax of this. So it understands this is a crane move, so it's moving in over top of it. But if it was just a pan or a zoom, it would still work. Okay. Once it calculates that, it puts points on the video. And each one of those points can be, you can attach something to it, like text or a shape. And we now have a full GPU accelerated ray tracer in here.
Yes, that's a very good thing, especially, well, kind of things and things that you'll want to relight to integrate in the scene.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't bring models in from Maya and Max and Cinema 4D yet. But right now it's simple extrusions. but the ray tracer is now in there. So if we can have a look, you can see there's little points in there, and they actually follow that video along inside there. So I can attach to anything in there, and to help me attach things, as I mouse over, I'm not clicking, I'm just mousing over, and I get this target. And the target is showing the relationship between 3 of these points and where an imaginary plane is. So you can see as I go on the side of the car, it looks at that point, right? Yeah, so what that surface looks like. So I'm trying to find one that's fairly straight in the front. And when I do, I just right-click, and I can attach text in a camera. I can attach a solid or a null and a shadow catcher and a light. So it's going to create a camera at the same time. So it created a camera, and it created text. It's on that a bit of an angle, so let me just center that and bring that down, caps lock, and this is the Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher car. Okay, so now that I have that there, it's sitting in 3-dimensional space, created the real 3D camera for me, and I can just start to rotate this into position a little bit. And when I hit play,
all it takes.
It's coming right there.
Yes.
So I can bring this up so it's right in our face when the camera comes flying in. Stick a little bit of motion blur on there. Boom. Very, very realistic match moving is really what people call this.
So this is something we use to go through to Mocha to do stuff like that. So is this replacing Mocha?
No, the difference is that in Mocha you're using a planar tracker, and that planar tracker is tracking a pattern, but it's giving you 2-dimensional data. Anytime that it looks like it's 3-dimensional data, it's doing things like corner pinning, right, where it's taking 2.5D and stretching the perspective, so it's kind of fake 3D. I know that Imagineer Systems, the new update for Mocha, does 3D camera tracking, but the Mocha, the regular one that's part of After Effects, does just 2D tracking. So this is exclusive inside here. We created this actually with the optics technology with NVIDIA. So this is accelerated on any GPU, but it's based on the work we did with NVIDIA. So we can take this text, and you can see it's just regular 2-dimensional text right now, but we have a new ray tracer in here. So if I turn on 3D ray tracer, and we go down here and turn on fast preview, because I don't have a fast machine like I had at the show. At the show we had a Quadro 6000 in a machine, and I had full ray tracing with reflections in real time in After Effects. I mean, that's crazy. So let's turn on fast draft. Okay, and I've got one that's already done here, so I don't have to actually make it. Oh, I should show you this. Here's the camera data.
Oh, wow.
So you can see the camera is actually created and moving right along. And you don't want to edit this camera because the information was taken from the 2-dimensional scene.
It follows the real camera that did the shot at first.
So here's the extruded text just in draft mode. So you can see we've got real depth, right? But then you can add ray tracing on here. This is a quick proxy that was made. And you can see reflections and an environment map. All you have to do is drag an image down to a layer, right-click, and tell it to be an environment map. So it could be just a flat image. Doesn't have to be technically spherical or cubic. Just drag an image in, but if you want to be more accurate, then you can drag it, the correct kind of...
so you could have shot an HDR ball and use it there.
Exactly. Rolling shutter repair. It's a little bit hard to see on this file, but if I turn the effect on and off, you should see just a little skew. See that?
Yes.
Right? Little skew inside there. So for all the 5D shooters out there, and this rolling shutter repair is in Premiere Pro too. And the warp stabilizer is now in Premiere Pro too.
Really?
Yeah. So you don't have to go out to After Effects. The exact same warp stabilizer that was here, that was used in motion pictures now. They used it on Hugo. I don't know if you saw, Rob Legato was talking about Millier's, you know, the moon?
Yes, the moon that they had to track, and
Yeah,
it was...
so, yeah, they stabilized that in After Effects. Pretty cool. One other really big thing that people have been waiting for in After Effects forever is variable width feathering. Right? So right now people would do this. They would have two masks, one sharp, one feathered, and try to work with them. That's the old way of doing it. Now we have a new way, and if I click on this and we zoom in, we can see that we've got variable width feathering inside here, fully live and editable. And we've got a tool up here called the Mask Feather Tool. Makes sense. Yes. And when you click on that and drag it out, you can drag a feather, you can control how much it's feathering around there, and every single one of these points is completely keyframeable.
That's very good. So this is a tool that mainly, well, we saw these last couple of years democratization of the color grading tools, which most of them have tools like that. And so now you too have your own powerful grading tool.
Oh. I spent the whole time at NAB. I was on the Speedgrade demo pod, and I tell you, I love this program. This is incredible. So last year, Adobe bought Iridos, and Iridos had Speedgrade, and we now have Speedgrade as our set of tools. So it will be in the box with Production Premium, Master Collection. It will be on its own, and it will also be in the Creative Cloud.
Yeah. So last NAB, Speedgrade, Iridos showed Lumetri, and we're all waiting for Lumetri, and now we'll have it in CS6.
Yes, this is the full new Lumetri engine, and just the quality that we can work with. Everything is 32-bit floating point in here. It's just remarkable what you can do. So let me just close this up. I mean, here we are on a 17-inch laptop trying to do the grading. We can do it, but it's a little bit tough. So we've got full scopes in here, and I've actually got my stereo turned on, which I don't need. It does full stereoscopic, including matching. So you have left eye, right eye, you bring in the footage, it analyzes left eye, right eye for vertical offset, parallax, offset, and scale, and color, and matches all your footage. But here we are in Speedgrade. It's really easy to understand this once you get past the fact that it doesn't look like an Adobe application, right? So here's some footage that is log footage. It's very milky. It's not overblown, because if we look at our RGB parade, you can see we've got no clipped highlights and no clipped shadows. Directors are scared of this, right? But colorists love this, right? They want that. So we have several options. We can add a LUT to this as a clip, or I could actually go to the timeline panel and drag a grading layer right above. And if I had an hour of clips, I could drag this one grading layer, like an adjustment layer, over an hour, and from there I could go and add a LUT.
Yeah, this is one of Speedgrade, to work with LUT and like use them and compose them somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And so here we are. I just added the Rec 709 LUT on here. Okay. So that would make a director happy.
Yes.
That's what's being used on set, right? Is that a DIT will make this look, send it to the monitors, and then everyone's looking at this look. Speedgrade is also being used by DPs actually on set, creating a look where before they might use Photoshop or Lightroom. The problem with that, I mean, they're great programs, but now you've got to take an image, give it to the colorist, and they have to match it. Here, they make a look, they give the look to the colorist. It's the same thing. There's no guessing. So now our footage looks much more poppy and beautiful, but we can take this a step further. So I'm going to get into the color tools and break these down for you. It really is remarkable. First of all, there's no fixed order of operation You can do anything at any time and go back to anything. Real simple controls inside here. And the controls get out of the way, so if you haven't touched a control, they all stay slightly gray. But as soon as you go in and touch a control, you can see you've touched it and you can reset that control. So shadow, highlight, midtones, other controls in here. For you guys, I'll give you the URL where I did a whole 35-minute tutorial on this, so you guys can share that and play it back. But I'll give you the quick tour inside here. You've got shadows, the highlights, and watch. I can stretch this all the way up here, and it's not going to fall apart. And if I had a numeric keypad, if I hit the 0 key, it goes back and forth between no grade and the grade I have. Plus, if I have the period key is the last thing you changed. So you go and tweak one thing, period key, just that one, and then 0 key, everything from there. So now if I turn that on and off, that's that, and that was my original.
Yeah, because grading is another part of the workflow where you try things.
Yeah, exactly. And grading really, from what I've learned, and I'm not a colorist, but what the colorists tell me is that there's a technical grade, and that's where you neutralize and fix things. You use the RGB parade and scopes. There is a vector scope here too, but you use that, and then once you're finished the technical grade, then you go on and run a creative grade on top of that. The masking is crazy. I got to show you that. So let's say I want to add a vignette to this. So I'll darken this, and I have no mask, inside mask, or outside mask. And as soon as I go to masks, I've got a very simple circle, square, or this gradient mask. But check this out. These guys are genius. This little widget, if I drag this up and down, it's going to expand it. Well, you already know what this one's going to do. It's going to make it wider. This one that's around it would rotate it. In the corners, we can skew it. This one's going to scale it. This one moves it. And this is going to increase the gradient in here. And this works not just with the whole thing, one. And I can freely drag these in here. And I've got drawing tools. Vector drawing tool, so I have complete control to draw any shape I want, and I can also save this down here and reuse this. So the masking is absolutely amazing that they've done this. Everybody that looks at that widget instantly gets it. In fact, I heard customers all week say, can we get that in After Effects? Can we get that in Photoshop? They just love it so much. But like I said, I'll give you the tutorial that'll go through there where we can save all these looks. But the last thing is output. We can go to create some formats, including QuickTime. So if you've got ProRes installed, it would show up in here. DNX HD would show up. Some of the frame sequences that are worth mentioning: TIFF, 32-bit floating point TIFF. This is crazy. No one's using that. And 16 and 8-bit TIFF. And then another popular one is OpenEXR.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a fantastic tool, a great creative tool. And I gave it to my daughter, who's an editor, and she's never seen Speedgrade before. And I gave her a 30-minute tutorial, and she graded her whole reel. And she was doing stuff with 5D footage that I didn't even know was possible.
So,
there's one more thing. There's always one more thing. This one will really freak you out. This was a late addition to it, but I'm going to load a Macbeth chart in here. So we only understand Macbeth and Macbeth mini charts right now, but I'm going to go to the clip, to the color space, override this, and when I click go, this will recognize not just white and black, this will recognize every chip in here, and it will use a cubic transformation, rewrite the matrix in here, and correct this completely.
Okay. This is nice. So it self-balance the whole shot, and precisely because it has like a couple of square to as a reference.
Yeah, and it's cubic, which means that if you tried to do this with just the regular controls, you couldn't. This is going beyond that with this cubic transformation. So let's say that you had a 5D and you're really lucky and you had a Scarlet.
Yes.
A 5D and a Scarlet, you could use this to now get the 5D closer. It doesn't make it into a Scarlet, but at least you're starting in the same place.
Yeah, so you're closer to the right curve that you would need.
Yeah, and there's lots more updates. You know, Media Encoder's updated. Photoshop, if we've seen the betas, there's just crazy updates. CS6 is really great. But the last thing that's important is subscriptions. It's very important for everyone to look at subscriptions, because there's going to be some options in subscriptions that will not be available for the shrink wrap box. Both will be the exact same program initially when you install it. You don't run Premiere Pro in the cloud. No. You download it and you install it, but we're going to be able to make things like updates and new features available for the Creative Cloud user that will not be available for the shrink wrap user. So that's a really important one to understand. And I think it's like $50 a month.
Yeah, so it's it's a little cheaper. And would it be possible? So people that now have a box, they will be able to like upgrade via the cloud. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you can go from a shrink wrap box to Creative Cloud update subscription. And there's lots of other ways. You know, there's student subscription too, so it'll be different if you're a pro. Students are going to get a real break on it. But I think it's about the equivalent after 3 years of paying $50 a month. Then it's about the equivalent of buying the software. But that's Master Collection, not just Production Premium. So that's everything, all you can eat. All the design, web, print, video, every single thing in the box.
Wow, so that's a good offer. So tons of new. Well, we have new software, new feature, and now a new way to go and get CS6.
Absolutely.
So, Colin, thank you to have welcomed us in your room that late at NAB. Thanks.
Thank you.